Hey everybody, John O'Connor here again, and welcome back to After the Dice. This one is called Burnt Zombies, and I'll get to that in just a second. But first, let me just take a moment to say, it's spring. You know how nice it is just to open all your windows, let in the fresh breeze, hear the wind chimes outside. You know, it's actually been a pretty comfortable few days. I'm actually enjoying the nice change. I'm hoping that winter is over and that we're not going to have any more cold fronts just bombard us. And of course I live in South Texas, so cold front means 60 degrees Fahrenheit or less. But enough about the nice weather outside. Let's get to what you came here for, After the Dice. Once again, my group consists of Carly, the girl who can cry on command, John, the map maker, and Nicole. So, last night, the story actually started picking up a bit. There's actually some interesting things going on. They've somewhat become political puppets of a sort. It's kind of hard to explain. Jonathan's character wanted to quit the city guard, but instead has been told that he's basically been drafted and given the promotion of Sergeant Proxy. And coming up with that rank was a little fun because there is no uniform military rank, so you really got to pick what you want. And I'm trying to pull up my notes right now. So I actually looked at a couple things. I looked at traditional military rankings, I looked at Star Trek rankings, and I looked at TDCJ's rankings to determine how I actually wanted to do that. So this is what I came up with. This isn't even a paramilitary thing, it's just the guards of the city. So you would have your privates, you know, the grunts, and then the rank of orders would be your sergeant, your second lieutenant, your first lieutenant, your commander, your captain of the guard, and then your major. And then above that, they're actually accountable to the Dre family. So, it was kind of fun putting that together. Never done anything like that before, so I wasn't quite sure how to make it. The map maker actually did serve for a little while in the U.S. Armed Forces, so I'm always kind of cautious about to use anything with a military ranking because I don't want to be called out on something I really don't know about. But, you know, I did my research this time, and that's what I came up with. And the reason I gave him Proxy is because I didn't want Flavor to break the campaign where suddenly he could go boss around other people, so Proxy came with some terms. He can only command those directly under him that he recruits, and they also would be given the title Guardsman Proxy. And originally I was going to use Substitute, but I was not going to sit through an 8-month campaign hearing the same Substitute Soul Reaper joke over and over and over again, so had to look up the synonyms for substitute, and if you're using the internet, that gets fun really quickly. Fraud, phony, temporary. A lot of them you're like, I guess these are synonyms, but it really doesn't have the same, convey the same message. So finally I got to Proxy, and I was like, okay, Sergeant Proxy, that sounds good. But with the new rank, he was given a little bit of an incentive, 675 gold, which he promptly shared with the rest of the group. Something I'm notorious with in my campaigns is, by level 10, most of my characters have more equipment than they really should, but levels 9 through 1, they're normally underpowered and underpaid. So they get a lot of their nicer stuff through loot. Or if they make deals with somebody, I'll make you this item, but you have to go do this for me. I always like to keep the treasure kind of just low, and the rewards for things. So when they actually find a piece of armor, it's not something they necessarily buy, it's something, well, I fought so-and-so and I got this. So right now, they're still a little underpaid for their level, but they're comfortable still. But last night I wanted to do something fun, so again, I've talked about this before. You take an idea, you file off the serial number, you repaint it, and then magically it's yours. I used something called Burnt Zombies last night, and I took the template of the zombie found in Monster Manual 1, and I was like, I want to add the fire subtech to it. So it does 1 point of fire damage whenever it hits you. And zombies are a little slow, so I'm going to take away the either-or thing about either you move or you attack next, so they can do that. So I jumped their challenge rating up from a whopping half of 1 to 1. So, kind of fun. Took away the toughness feat and replaced it with improved natural armor, only because I knew my group wouldn't have trouble hitting him. I knew my group would have trouble taking them down. So that's why I switched that up. And it was kind of funny because they're being paraded around now after spending 2 days in jail. They have met a new commander, Commander Coleman, who is basically telling them, you're kind of a political puppet right now. You're going to be paraded around as a hero because the town needs something to rally behind. They need something to believe in. They begrudgingly do this because the pay's good enough. And now they're being sent on now they're going to be sent on a couple missions that are just good PR. You know, they were told, hey, this first mission, we're going to send you to a mausoleum. We've heard rumors that there's some undead in there, that some pesky arcane students were, raising them. So they were sent there. They knew exactly there'd be 2 zombies. The caster got away. And they get there and they're like, okay. The characters are under-enthused. They do not want to be there. But the players are kind of like, this is John. Something's not right here. Something's planned. So it was interesting watching them go, okay, when does the rug get pulled from under our feet? When does the rug get pulled under for our feet? And so when they go in there, they immediately smell burning flesh, and they're like, well, that's not normal for zombies. They've dealt with zombies once before, and they've done a little research about it. They're like, okay, zombie flesh shouldn't burn. Go in there, they find somebody in mage's robes who's, bleeding dead in the corner. They're like, okay, already not looking good. And now there's this other man in mage's robes, which I took the time. I was like, alright, he's covered in some kind of white chalk paint, and he actually has parts of his lips sewn shut. I was like, sounds good. And I always love to have the character with the dramatic entrance. That's something I'm known for. Especially if you're going to just dispose of him and it's a, one-time only deal. It's like, okay, give this guy his little moment of the spotlight because that's his last hurrah. He's going to die today. So, they start fighting this mage who was only, they didn't know at the time, but afterwards I told him, it was only a 3rd level wizard human, so there wasn't a lot of spells, but he had these undead under his command, which normally it would take a much higher level wizard. So there's another force at work here. But it was just kind of fun seeing them reacting to, okay, these zombies are burnt to a crisp, and they're coming at us. Now, I talked about, taking somebody else's idea, filing the serial number off, and, repolishing as your own. Sunday came around. I hadn't started working on anything for this session. I didn't know what I was going to do. Again, we play on Thursday, so by Saturday I like to have some idea so I can start working on it. But Sunday came around, I still didn't know what we were going to do. I knew I wanted to make them political puppets, but I didn't know anything besides that. And then I was watching The Walking Dead, and they had the walkers who were ignited. So I was like, I want to fight those things. I want to see how they function. So while they were fighting them, I was describing to them, it's like, okay, their palms come down and that's what they're hitting you with. And it's coming down because their bodies are still so hot that they're doing 1 point of fire damage every time they do this to you. But over time, the zombies started dissolving because they're still burning, they're still cooking from the inside out. So the battle could have only gone on for so long, and because it's D&D, you get to add the little extra flares. Every time they took one down, I described to them how it disintegrated into ash. So which led to a really fun moment when the last zombie, this burning flesh thing, the map maker's character Jace has been disposing of these things left and fucking right, and he gets to the last one. He's like, well, I want to charge it. Well, last week he hit the girl who can cry on command, Carly, her character Reyna. He hit her with the broadside of a great axe, knocked her out. So she's a little worried about him, you know, hitting her again. And during this combat, at one point he threw a hatchet, and the map maker rolled a 1. So I described how this hatchet flew across the room and nicked the little hairs on Reyna's character, just like nicked them, and then went behind her. So they were all like, okay, this is gotta be careful with those 1s. So as he takes the charge on this last burnt zombie, I'm looking at my sheet. It has 2 hit points, and zombies don't have a constitution score, so I'm like, alright, this needs 2 damage, it's gonna go down. He decides to charge it. I think he was using something that's not traditional. I think it was a war axe or something. You know, something he really... It's a one-handed axe that he was holding with 2 hands. And he just comes charging at it. And so he rolls his damage. He did like 16 damage to it. So I look at Carly and I'm like, so Reyna sees this zombie facing her dissolve into white ash, and toward the bridge of her nose she can see the sharp shining glimmer of this axe at her face. So it gives Reyna that moment of, almost got hit again, which Carly really sold really well. That's what I enjoy about my group, is that they are able to sell things in the moment. You know, they're able to play off something that happened 2 sessions ago, 3 sessions ago. So Reyna has kind of developed this fear. You know, no, it's not a very prominent fear, but it was in the back of her head of, sometimes Jace gets carried away, I should step back. So it's interesting seeing someone sell that idea. But with everything that's going on, they're kind of political puppets, and you know, the caster, when they came in, yelled at them. You know, he called them puppets. So we're finally building this. For the last 2 sessions, there's been mention of this person called the True Lord, and the True Lord has taken a personal interest in this group, and he's sent things to attack them. We don't know what the True Lord's agenda is. We don't know if it's male or female, or race, power level. You know, so it's just this threat behind the curtain right now that has, obviously, resources. So it's kind of fun with these characters now that they, being political figureheads, yes, they're being watched after a little bit more because the city guard and, you know, the family, the ruling family, the family of Dre, have an invested interest in them. So it would be bad for business if they died. So they know they have this little bit of protection over them, or at least someone's watching them. Not to the point where they can't do anything, but to the point of, hey, we're not going to send you in a lot of situations, they're going to get you killed. But the other thing that makes this kind of a double-bladed sword here is, now you're a public figure. And this character, the True Lord or whatever, we don't know how many minions he has, or she has, we don't know what's going on with them. You've become a public figure, they already don't like you, so now you're an easy target. So yes, on one hand, do you take the feeling of, okay, there's a sense of security because I know the city's watching out for me, or do you have to worry because, okay, well now I'm a bit more of a public target. So it's a fine line they're walking. They're really enjoying the story. I love watching these guys sell it. But again, the difficulty about doing an after the dice video is because I can tell you blow, blow, blow what's going on, but I don't know how much that's going to matter the next session. I'm really doing this on the seat of my chair here. If the idea sticks to the wall, we run with it. But if it doesn't, it kind of goes to the wayside. That's the enjoyment of doing a low-level campaign, for me at least, is because I don't know how this is going to end. This True Lord character could be a challenge rating 20, could be a challenge rating 15, challenge rating 10, challenge rating 1. You know, it depends how much clout they have, you know, what they're doing. You know, it's hard to say what their power rating is because they've just had a couple encounters with them, and it's not this large movement in the city. It's just it's a small group of individuals who don't particularly like my adventuring party. Now, does that group grow over time, or does it stay the same? Who's to say? Well, me, but I haven't decided yet. So it's really fun because although there's this overarching threat, it's not like my last campaign where that was what they were fighting every week. That's, you know, they were fighting the tyranny of these 3 large groups that all seem to be in cahoots against them. Sometimes it could just be because they're low level. This other person just didn't like you, and that's the story for the night. So there's a bit of freedom in a low-level campaign of going, I don't have to focus on the overarching villain. He doesn't have to come into play all the time. I keep using the pronoun he just because it's a lot easier, but they don't have to show up every week. Sometimes it can just be something else. Sometimes it can just be someone who came and needed a favor. That's the enjoyable part right now, is all the choices. That's the enjoyment now of the low level, is that I have choices. My reward later on is the choices that I built on will start becoming story points, references for the characters. So, as the campaign evolves, at least for me, my enthusiasm and drive really does change and evolve because I start getting written into corners, which I have to live with. But the fun part about that is I get to make reference to things that have happened before. So as I grow and develop this story, it's going to take shape to whatever it's going to be, and the players are going to take shape to whatever it's going to be. So that's the little fun part for me. So I'm looking forward to next week. I've already got some things in the pipe work. Not going to say just yet, but I think they're going to enjoy it. On a small little note, I think today is going to be a double feature. I've already done, this is my After the Dice Burnt Zombies, but I think after I finish recording this, I'm going to record and post today, that's right, double feature today, a Welcome to Lexington Burnt Zombie, where I'll go over the actual mechanics of the creature, the actual idea, both what the player saw and my overarching idea in my head. So if you want to incorporate this idea into your next campaign or session, you're more than welcome to. So please tune in to my next video, Welcome to Lexington Burnt Zombies.